If you'd like to come up and join us, and thank you for coming. So this, what you gave us, is actually a breakdown of that $30,000 request.
So every year, every couple of years, as we phase and work on the various properties, we go before the Community Preservation Committee, obviously requesting funds to, keep the processes moving. And so, again, that's what you have in front of you tonight, is our request, going forward into next fiscal year. And very briefly, item 1 is to hire an engineering firm to work with the committee to do the engineering and design, primarily on phase 2 and 3 of the Riverlands. Right now, we're projecting 4 phases of trail construction on the Riverlands, but again, that can change depending on how things evolve. Phase 1 is currently under design right now, which is to build a approximately 25-car parking lot and secure the area around the trail sheds where our equipment is stored as, part of that. And the initial approximately 2,500 feet of the Grand Trunk Trail. Phase 2 is to do another section of about 1,000 feet of the Grand Trunk Trail. Why that made it unique to itself is a unique kind of drainage issue we have there. That's probably going to involve some detention basins and a little bit on the high, more than just our normal kind of, fix the trail and keep moving along. Phase 3 is a proposed connecting trail from the Riverlands to the Lead Mine Mountain property, and that we've identified 3 property owners where we would need to acquire a trail easement, to make that come. So that's why it's kind of its own phase part. And then phase 4 right now is the rest of the Grand Trunk Trail from the terminus of phase 2, which is about halfway into the property, would be the second half of the Grand Trunk, which would bring it out on the Holland Road. And that piece is predicated on us also obtaining an easement or a piece of property to better facilitate the layout of that. So that's, kind of why things are in phases, is we're doing what we kind of bite off as we can. So again, we envision obviously that, there'll be wetlands permitting and engineering and design, and so that's why that number is kind of there. And then obviously, as things get permitted and as we work with the DPW, if we need to rent some equipment to get a particular part of the job done, then we have the ability to do that. And obviously, we need to buy gravel and supply and pipe and what have you. And then lastly, the SCA stands for item number 4, Student Conservation Association. That's a program under the AmeriCorps Act, basically, which are graduated college folks that are looking to get into the outdoor environmental, as a career choice, either, out in the wild or in out, environmental issues. And the program is run kind of similar to the Peace Corps, I guess very simply, but it's something we do here within the United States. And in Massachusetts, every October there are approximately 20 of these students that come in under the SCA and spend time together, through the fall and winter, living in one of the state parks out in Western Mass, and primarily outreaching to the elementary school students there to be, leave no trace and environmental ethics and what have you. But also they take on training at that park, and starting actually yesterday, Monday, they break up into 5-person hitches, as they call themselves. And then the communities within the state of Massachusetts apply to, request one of these hitches for either a 1 or 2 week period. And we've requested them for a 2-week period. We had them last year, and they reopened 3/4 of a mile of single-track trail that was some of the more remotest piece on the Lead Mine Mountain property that was actually closed because of the tornado. And, we just, with everything else on the Trails Committee's docket, that was a challenge that the Trails Committee said, gee, this is a perfect fit. These people come trained in how to use chainsaws and come-alongs and hoists, and so not only did they clear the trail, but they actually built 2 footbridges out there, lugging all of the material out there to build the bridges, and did a great job. And we want to get them back for the foreseeable future, but continue to build these single-track trails that are some of the more remote parts that would be a physical challenge even to members, the volunteers of the Trail Committee, the local residents. So it kind of fills a nice little niche in the overall town's Trails Master Plan program.
So Tom, do we actually pay them, or is that
We
money
pay
for?
them, right, the fee, this year's fee is $7,600. It's been that way for a few years, so, whether it'll go up next year or not, I don't, but I budgeted the $7,800. So we pay them that money for 5 students, and they're here for 10 days straight. So they're, this year, the crew we're getting is in middle of June. They're arriving on June 4th, and they'll be leaving on the 13th.
And where do they stay?
That's the other requirement, is we need to provide them a place to camp with drinking water. Last year, we were fortunate enough to receive a donation from Jellystone Park. So they literally camped right across the street from where they were working. But as you people may know, Jellystone closed.
I didn't know that.
It's been bought by a new owner, and they're revamping the whole thing. The Jellystone is gone, and it'll still be a camp resort, but it'll be under a private label. And no longer a Jellystone. But anyway, so the long and short of that is, I reached out to my former employer, the Army Corps of Engineers, and they're going to be able to stay down at the recreation area at Westville, because it has the water and the toilets and the facility there to support them for camping. So that's the only other cost is that. But the $7,800, they come fully equipped. They have their own transportation, their own tools, their own equipment. They provide their own food. So they're, I think the 78, kind of goes for that, and then obviously the tool maintenance and, the gas for the chainsaws and what have you. I mean, we don't have to provide them with any trail tools at all, I mean, we work with them, but, they come ready to go to work and trained and, properly vetted on all the safety and everything else. So.
Tom, assuming adequate, timely funding,
Yep.
and assuming also no unwelcome weather occurrences, and no on-site surprises. It may sound funny, but an unexploded World War II, something like that.
We've had military encampments here in
sure.
town, so yeah.
So, assuming things go pretty well, do you have an estimate for the timeline for the entire project when you could put a bow on it and say it's done?
The short answer to that, Larry, is no. Have we put a bow on the Heinz Farm? Yes, we have. We have a plan of trails that has been approved for the Lead Mine Mountain property by the Conservation Commission. And we're probably several years away from before we could put a bow on that. But what we're finding out is on that particular piece is we have a very large number of people who are out there making their own trails because we're just not building them fast enough. You know, it's, you know, we work with them, we try to get a corral on that, you know, but again, we're not out there, obviously, every weekend and watching everything else that goes on over 1,000 acres. So the long and short of it is, normally how we go in is we go in with a basic plan of initial trails on the property, but it's never really envisioned to be done at some point, although, you know, out a number of years it will be done. And the reason why I say that is under the master plan for recreational trails, if the town really wants to become a mountain biking, hiking destination, we need to get over 50 miles of trails. That's kind of the magic number out there in the trail world. And right now, with counting all of the trails, you know, at Wells State Park and down at Westville and what we're doing, we're just about at 33 miles. So, you know, we've got a ways to go to kind of even hit that 50 mile. So just because we've got a plan and we're going to build this out, I would envision that on some of the properties, we may go back and kind of take a second look and say, well, okay, you know, here's where we're at. Can we add a few more miles of trail, and what would they be? So I hope that in a big picture kind of answers your question.
Well, thank you. It does. Can you estimate the earliest date, and only an estimate, when the public could begin to have safe access, they'd be invited in?
Oh, they're invited in now. The Lead Mine Mountain property has 13 miles of trail that are well marked and completed and finished. And they're invited in now. The only time we close trails is when, you know, construction activity necessitates it. So like, you know, at the lead mine, a couple of trails were closed over the winter because of the dam removal project. So, you know, but Heinz Farm has just under 3 miles of completed trail. Lead Mine has over 13 miles of completed trail. On the Plimpton property, we are just starting to construct trails there now, but that initial plan has just under 5 miles on it. But again, if people want to go out on their own, which a lot of people do, just to get out there, you know, it's always a work in progress.
Good. Thank you, Tom.
Yep.
Yeah, they're very nice trails. I've actually hiked them a little bit.
They are nice trails, they are.
Yeah. Right around, especially around the village and.
Yeah, but
they're
even when you
very
go
nice.
into the,
Yeah.
go deeper
in,
into the woods,
yeah.
where you don't see people, they're really nice.
They're very
And
nice.
again, we have a, you know, per the master plan,
Yeah.
we have 5 different levels of trail construction, from the very wide rail trail to a very narrow single remote ST single track 3 level 3 trail, which is, you know, probably the more, you know, real back country. But again, you know, when the biggest piece you have is 800 acres, it's really hard to replicate a true, you know, Appalachian Trail experience. You know, but again, we try to provide all those different levels of trail experience. So, and that's where the SCA comes in, is they do really good at those single track level trails that are the most remote. I mean, you know, the trail they'll be working on will probably take them 15, 20 minutes just to hike into the most farthest point that, you know, that day to work on it. So, you know, there's a lot of time lost just walking in and out to these trails sometimes.
Any other questions for Tom?
Tom, you mentioned trying to get trail rights from 3 property owners. Are those residential property owners or another
Yes,
type
for
of?
the most part, they are. The plan has been presented to the town administrator for his review and action and initiation, what have you.
Other questions? Is there a motion to recommend Article 4 to the town meeting?
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion?
I'll just point out that the Trail Committee, you guys do an excellent job making these accessible. But this is yet another one of these where the first step is purchasing the land. There's this ongoing cost to make them usable, accessible, maintain what you've done in years past. So we sometimes forget, and there are others may forget that there's this ongoing cost. It's not just the initial purchase, but you guys are doing a good job.
Yeah,
You have
we
a
are,
plan and you're executing it, so.
We actually try to do a pretty good job of tracking both construction costs and once, we feel a trail is complete, and, some are, we still track the amount of maintenance that we put in on the trails to keep them at the level that they were designed and constructed to. Clearly, you all have homes, and, your maintenance of your yard never stops. So you gotta mow the grass, you gotta rake the leaves, and never mind, every once in a while, something breaks and you gotta fix it, Gutters become clean, you gotta clean your gutters, and it's the same thing with the trails. We go out twice a year and blow the leaves and debris and inspect the trails. So they're inspected in the spring and the fall. And then from that, usually, again, when we've built a sustainable trail, there's usually not a lot of trail maintenance other than that annual, semi-annual inspection and cleaning. But some of the bridge structures, obviously, every few years, we need to reseal them, so and we track even at Heinz Farm, the Stafford Turnpike Trail, part of that is through the field. And that needs to be mowed every other month or so during the summers. We usually do that about 3 times. So that goes under maintenance of that trail. So, there is some maintenance and, at some point, the town's gonna probably have to look at some maintenance issues, how we do it. Right now, we're doing it by, the volunteers and we've been supported well. We have the equipment down at the sheds to do that. So, but we are tracking that so that at some point, the town can take a look at that and what are those numbers really are. And what does it cost us to build certain types of trails, so, Okay?
I just had a question about, do you have to worry about endangered species at all when you build trails, or are they considered low impact? So you don't.
The short answer to that is, Mike, yes, we do worry about that. And we also worry about the impact of the people pressure in and of itself, too, using the trail. Right now, one of the issues that has been debated with the Conservation Commission is the impact of loose dogs on the trails.
Right.
The dog officer, it's become an issue for the dog officer to address the conflicts between loose dogs, and the environmental issues are just starting to be addressed in the amount, people don't pick up after their dogs. And when you let dogs run loose, especially like this time of the year in the vernal pools, that's a sensitivity, that's not really being considerate of the environment. And so there's a number of issues like that so when we site trails, we try to minimize or, take that environmental consideration into effect on some of the siting of some of the trails. So we minimize that, but it's factored in, part of that, item 1, the engineering, survey, and design. How do we, build it the best and most sustainable way?
But like as far as the Plimpton property, isn't there an issue that came up with the fields where there was like a rare snake up there or something?
We have an endangered species up there, and we're through the conservation agent, through Rebecca, we are working with the folks from National Endangered Heritage Species folks on the state level
Right.
to design a trail system that will minimize the conflicts with that particular species, yes.
All right, thank you.
Yep.
All right, so we do have a motion, and it's been seconded for Article 4. All in favor? 6-0. All right,
Okay.
thank you.
all
Thanks
very
for
much.
coming in, Tom.
Thanks, Tom.
Thank you, Tom.
See you first night, Monday night in June.
What?
We want to,
He wants the candy back.
go into the, my email correspondence is somewhat confusing in that I thought Tom was going to cover other articles, but apparently he's not even on the committee.
No, he's not, as we found out.
So are they not coming? I thought they were coming.
I don't know, and we don't have a report either.
Well, we waiting on that for our, I can call Penny tonight about that.
Yeah. We're definitely waiting on,
We need that for our report, obviously.
yes,
We need it for the book.
for the book.
At the very
Other
least.
articles are not that, people have questions on, like, Bob offered to come, Bob Briere, for the cemetery, and I said, well, that's been going on for 10 or 15 years, and it's the same amount of money, and people are pretty familiar with it, so I didn't think you needed to.
I'm not sure they voted on Article 5 yet, because it looked like it was on their agenda for next week.
They met last night, I believe,
Oh, they did?
yeah, according to what,
Oh, oh, maybe it said,
she said
I
on
don't
May
know.
1st that the CPC meets next Monday night.
oh,
So I'm assuming that,
maybe I read that wrong.
so, but we voted on the other article. Did they vote on the Trails article?
Which article did we vote on? We?
We voted Article 4 just now.
Oh, yeah, that was the only one. Yeah, I don't have anything. I thought we did this one, but we didn't. The administration one? Can we do the administration one?
Well, I think we could, why don't we go back to 3? We could certainly, I think we can do the cemetery one.
Okay.
3, I think.
I'll make a.
It's
a
Article
motion.
3.
Can I make a motion to
Sure.
accept as written?
Yep. Is there a second? Mike? Mike beat you. Thanks, Sarah.
I saw it out of the corner of my eye.
I'm sorry, what article are you?
Article 3 of the annual town
Cemetery
meeting.
restoration.
Historic cemetery restoration.
It's an ongoing project, which I think they're doing a really great job.
And I'm okay to vote it. I don't think we need to bring Bob in, but maybe for next year, it'd be nice to see what the, at least a near-term 5-year plan is. I kind of see this, like Larry's question just now to Tom on the trails, you know, if you keep throwing the money every year, if it's available, they've got stuff and plans that they can do. If we were short on money and didn't have it, you know, they wouldn't progress any further, but they've got something in place so far, so.
Well, of course,
It'd be nice to
historic
know
is
what
one
the
of their
long-term
3
plan is,
categories
and
that,
somebody can just
Spend
write
money
it
in
up or
this area.
sketch it out.
yeah, there is, I mean, it has to be, historic is one of the areas that's earmarked
Right.
for a certain amount of money, so they generally do have money for that. Any further discussion? All in favor? That's 6-0.
Yeah, I'll see what, I can tell you what Bob said about it if you want to. Although we've already voted it.
Hey, that's fine. You could either,
I think he said
Send it
they're, I
around
mean,
with-
they hired a special firm. It's very expensive,
Yeah.
to do it. So they do a few graves a year, I think.
so they're doing 2 a year and we're on a 100-year plan, and
Oh, yeah,
doing
they
10 a
did meet
year
last
on a 5-year plan.
We
I'm-
did meet last month.
That's the kind of scope I'm trying to
Well,
figure out. I don't need it tonight, but, you know, next year when they come forward, maybe just some
Said,
background that they can forward over versus come and explain. I
Said-
don't need a detailed discussion on that.
The upcoming, the upcoming year is repetition of the past work, now concentrating on preserving stones in North Cemetery with 2 stones in the old burial ground needing care. Total of the proposal is the same as in the past, set at $9,500. That can be available if needed. So,
Well, we
everybody hear
voted. Yeah, did everybody hear that?
that? Okay.
I don't know what they voted on the windows then.
I don't know either.
Why don't we go to administration, Article 6?
Right, that's pretty much the same every year.
That's 15,000.
I'll make a motion to approve that as written.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? It's 6-0.
So we need to find out if they voted Article 5? Is that the remaining question?
Well, it would have been nice if they actually came, but,
Yeah. Well, I think she copied everyone on the committee, and somebody was supposed to get back to me, but I thought that was Tom, because he was not assigned a particular article.
oh, okay.
Right, so I was confused by that.
We could do Article 13, community preservation debt.
Did committee vote Articles 9 and 10, Water and Sewer Department last week?
We're going to do 10. We did do 9 already. We had a change in 10. I just wanted to keep with the the CPA. So this is their debt service
For existing projects.
for the existing projects, not for anything new. So it's for OSV land acquisition, Heinz Farm, Town Hall, Center Office, and the recreation courts, which I'm not sure is done, but it's being paid for. So that's Article 13. Is there a motion?
I'll make the motion to approve as written.
Second.
Okay, any discussion? All in favor? 6-0.
I realize we've not done Article 14.
Right, and we haven't done Article 10, which I think we can make short shrift of, because I sent that out.
Well, I just wanted to point out
Right.
on Article 14, they've got to write out the dollars in words.
Oh, I know.
Oh, we did.
We did, though.
We did?
Oh, yeah, we
Oh,
did.
so we did,
Kathy
okay.
and I met over the weekend.
Pardonnez-moi,
Oh,
very
that's
well.
quite okay.
All right, so we have.
If
So-
anything else after, I think she's going to send this to everyone.
We said 7:30.
Anything, yeah.
Okay.
Early, okay.
So Article 10, Sewer Department, I sent out that new motion so that they are contributing, get that back up.
I'm sorry, Kathy, which one are you going to?
Article 10, the
10?
Sewer Department one?
So we added the $182,000 to,
Yes. We added, so the total being spent is the same, 2,622,759, but part of it is being paid
Right, so we
by
had to- So, like. this one, yeah.
182,000 from the sewer reserve fund balance, and the remainder would be
He didn't even do
through the
that.
through the sewer rate, which I believe keeps the sewer rate steady. Where it is.
find that out, I guess.
Wanted to make sure that I had all.
But, and the numbers in the
In the box.
estimated budget in the box stays the same. So is there a motion to approve Article 10?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Any discussion?
Possible for somebody to explain where the funds, how funds get into the sewer reserve fund balance? Is that just excess?
I believe it's
excess
it's somewhat
revenues from
like
prior
free
years?
cash, yeah, it's sort of like this water sewer department free cash, yeah.
Will I be pushing the limit, or I ask if we knew how much that fund balance was?
Oh, yeah, that's really pushing the limit.
All right.
It will be included in the summary box before this is, we always include that in the summary box.
Very good.
Yeah, we do, yeah.
But we don't even have the sponsors yet, so you really want
They
the
are supposed to
summary?
be coming tomorrow morning. Tomorrow morning. All in favor? Hey, 6-0 for Article 10. 6-0. Okay.
Do you know, Kathy, if the Board of Selectmen finished all their votes? They must have, right?
I'm not sure, I don't believe they did vote Article 14, but they did close the warrant as far as I know.
Okay. Weren't they going to reopen it? And
Yeah, they had some small tweaks, so we are supposed to get it tomorrow
okay,
morning.
all right.
Okay, now we're up to Article 14. Is everybody that's coming?
We're gonna have one gentleman coming in probably about 15 minutes late.
Oh.
I can start with that one, yeah.
Yeah, then why don't you ladies come up? Thank you all for coming. Could you all introduce yourselves, especially for our recording secretary?
And speak into the microphones, please, because
My name is Annie Rossioli. I'm the Recreation Director.
My name is Mary Lou Volpe. I'm the chair for the Recreation Committee.
Erin Person, recreation member.
Okay, before we get into the deals, can I just ask one question, because I just remembered it from the debt service? Are the recreation courts down at the rec done yet?
They should be about 2 weeks out. I talked to Greg last week. Matter of time.
Okay,
We're in that final stretch. Right now, the water break today set us back a bit because we're updating. There was a pipe broke that set them back about a week, so we just need plumbing to come into the rec facility.
okay. All right. So on to Article 14, we have the updated article and motion.
and
Okay,
I just want to double check. Do you have that updated article? Just like, I know we did it, Kathy. I just want to make sure that I have it in here. Do you mind? Thank you.
When was that sent out?
Yesterday, I think?
Oh, all right, okay. I do not have it in here. Oh, damn.
Yeah, I'm not.
Yeah, I didn't.
It sent
I didn't.
yesterday, I think.
Yeah.
Yes. And actually, that motion, it only came today. The motion
Yeah,
itself.
there must have been another one that we updated. Sorry, my bad.
Maybe, yeah, I don't remember.
Okay, so for myself and all the other confused people at home, the updated article just addresses, the dollar amount of 6.7 million stays the same. The
Yes,
form of how we would raise the money is changed to borrowing.
well, I'm not sure that ever
Yeah.
wasn't going to be borrowed.
So the original article's got a whole bunch of,
Yeah, but the motion that was proposed for it was always borrowing. And well, you can explain it, but I believe it's 5.7 borrowed by the town and 1 million from community preservation.
But that's not what it says here.
I think it says it on the new motion, doesn't it?
This is the one I just got.
See, so this is,
No, this is the warrant article, there was a motion with it.
Oh.
I sent that out today. Or yesterday, one or two. Maybe it was yesterday.
Want to pass this down to him, just in case.
I don't know. What Joni has is the latest.
We're just joined by Katie and Phillips, who is the secretary for recreation.
all right, well, can we,
But if you would like to start, some of us were at your presentation last Wednesday, but some of us were not.
This is what you said. That's what I got from the bottom.
I sent the wrong thing.
so I guess she opened it up to whoever wants to speak and give a summary of what the plan is here.
Sure. So these plans are what was presented to you in 2016. The additions are consistent with the Little League baseball field, multi-purpose field, basketball courts, parking. We also have the bocce ball courts, concession stand, and price includes additional stands, landscaping, and playground. So we are receiving 1 million from CPC. I am hoping to be placed on their next agenda because we would like to increase that. If they're able to, we are going to be requesting more money, hopefully in their meeting next week. But as of now, we are looking at 5.7 million with the addition of CPC's 1 million.
Could I
Not-
stop you there? You think you're asking for more money, or like more money because the cost is going to go above 6.7, or because you want to alter the source of the funding levels?
It was recommended by Board of Selectmen last night to kind of exhaust all possible funds. So it's not to increase the overall price at all, but to help offset.
Oh, they are meeting next week. Community preservation.
Yeah.
Yeah, the meeting was postponed or canceled for lack of quorum last night.
Oh,
Okay,
okay.
it's
All
supposed
right.
to be last
We were a little confused by that because it was.
It was supposed to last night, but we had to cancel.
Oh, okay. All right, thank you. And could you just introduce yourself for the, especially for our recording secretary?
Katie Phillips, recreation member, also the rec representative on the CPC.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, okay, thanks.
Okay.
Okay, go ahead. Sorry, Annie.
So just to continue with the overview of the cost, so this breaks down to 5.7 million at 4.1% for 20 years, translating to the annual increase of 118 for the average residential home of 279,000.
118?
Correct.
So basically $10 a month increase.
For the average home of
What was the increase? I'm sorry?
118?
118 for the year.
118
For
per year?
Valued at, or assessed at about 279,000?
Yeah.
Wow, okay.
So that's the 42-cent increase.
And that's over 20 years?
20 years.
And what about the amount that they're borrowing through CPC? Do you know what that interest rate is?
No, I was not informed of any interest rate. Kadian, would you be aware? Would there be an interest rate?
I'm not sure about the actual number. I feel like they're, no, I don't want to speak to it without giving the wrong information. I
Okay.
know they would be borrowing, but the money would not be over what we're taking in, because CPC tries to make sure that,
Right.
you know, we're covered for these.
Questions?
Yeah, well, let's, I know in 2016, and again, this year, you continue to make the case for lots of kids and adults trying to use fields, a lack of the facilities in town. I think we understand the position and you know, can do the assessment of what we have and what we might need. How about, the issue, I think the last time this came around is, this is a difficult piece of land. There's a lot of ledge out there. I thought one of the options after this didn't go through last time was to look at some other lands we have and see if there isn't a more suitable piece of land that might get you as much, if not more, and for less money. So maybe you can just address that question.
So the Town Barn Field Plans was the conclusion of the field study that was conducted, I believe, from 2004 to 2006, making that the most ideal location. Reason that the committee is still focusing on this is the amount of time, effort, and money that has gone into this location. Aside from it being ideal for the town, being off a main road, for anyone traveling, easily to access highways, restaurants, hotels, and whatnot. Something to keep in mind is that a lot of people have brought up the Plimpton property, and that is something that was purchased with the idea to develop after the town barn fields. At the current rate that we are for just active participants, we need both the town barn fields and Plimpton property to break even. And then from there, you can look at expanding fields if you want to make that nice tournament complex or whatnot. But we need both these locations to break even at the very least. Plimpton does have a restriction. They have the endangered species, so it's going to take a bit of time to go through that and see if the recreation aspect, because it's both passive and recreation, see what our impact is there. Another thing to keep in mind is the Plimpton property is smaller than the town barn fields. So with, I guess, the right design, maybe we're gonna get 2 fields there. Originally, it was 15 acres, but I was informed that that buffer was updated to increase the no hunting area, just to kind of make the recreation side safer. So that we're looking at 10 acres at Plimpton, 10.5 at Town Barn. And again, Plimpton has not been explored. We don't know what obstacles are gonna come up. There most likely won't be ledge there, but we're gonna need a mass amount of fill to make it level. So the Town Barn, ideally speaking, it's already an asset that the town has. It's heavily used. And the rec committee believes it's really important to kind of utilize this asset, make it a a better facility for everyone. But we have so much there. It's hard to kind of grasp the concept of why would we abandon this and start elsewhere.
Also, when we started this, way back when, we didn't own the Plimpton property.
Right.
So,
But since this didn't pass in 16, and that was one of the issues, other than just dusting off, we looked at it, let's just keep forging ahead with something that people thought had some concerns on it. I don't know if you had an opportunity to go back and now look at Plimpton and say, does it work or not work? But based on what you're saying here is, I thought I heard you say, we're gonna need the town barn fields expansion like you're proposing here, and more, Plimpton being next, so it almost sounds like if this thing gets moving at some point, I don't know if it's 1 year or 10 years down the road, you'll be looking for more fields in addition to this.
We'll absolutely need it. But for now, to support, at the bare minimum, I mean, we have kids on the town common. So this is really the only feasible plan that has the option of getting up and running in the next several years. And again, it's hard to rationalize Plimpton with this when there has been almost no site work done, no evaluation done. We don't know what we're looking at. It may be a great area for some soccer fields, may be a great area for soccer fields and a dog park. But for now, the town barn has been worked on. The amount of money and time invested, it's just not something that is reasonable to abandon.
And if you were able to get this approved this year, how long till people can actually start using those fields? What's the timeline?
So the fields that are currently existing, they'll be able to use throughout construction. The estimate was 1 to 2 years.
So just a clarification, so once the fields are installed, they're gonna have to be fallow for a season, can't use them? While they grow in, is that the, Jeff?
Was that the clarification from Waterfield?
I feel like that was part of the 2-year plan, was 2 years of installing.
But if the multi-purpose field that's gonna be used for soccer and lacrosse is a turf field, it can be used right away.
It's not turf.
not turf.
I know it's not turf, I'm bringing that up as a
Yeah.
proposition because we run into this situation all over town with fields that are grass, and they get beat up in the spring and they can't be used, or they get beat up in the fall and they can't be used, depending on when soccer or lacrosse is played, and fields get unused for a whole season while we allow the grass to grow back. And I'm just throwing this out there that, we finally did the right thing, in my opinion, at Tantascwa. We put in a turf field, and I would think that it'd be a real consideration, because you put in a turf field and you can use it the next day. I mean, not literally, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And I would think that in terms of getting the maximum amount of usage of the field, that would be the way to go. I mean,
I think
There's-
for us throughout the process.
I watched the presentation. I was at the,
But even before that, we were always concerned about cost because we know that would be the biggest hurdle bringing forward to the town. So we were just trying to get a plan out there that we think the town would be able to.
I understand.
It could
Sometimes
be
the
added
cheapest
later.
plan is not the
It would just
best
have to
plan.
be,
Right.
like
Yeah, they
another
said that.
$800,000.
It's about another $800,000, I
Right,
think, is the number
right.
I heard.
Right.
Per
Said
field.
it would essentially double the field availability, I guess.
Yeah, it would.
Right. So,
I mean, I forget the guy's name from
Waterfield?
Waterfield.
yeah,
But he was actually, at the meeting on Wednesday, he was saying that the big unknown is that ledge, and he basically said it could be 800,000 to 2 million.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't really know how it's bid. Is there any way you could bid it so that if that came really low, then you could consider turf? So that the overall is still at the 6.7?
That's something that I
don't
would
know if
have,
you'd have
I'd have to
alternates.
clarify, most likely with Barbara and Leon, how that transfer of funds would work. But the idea was to have a low bid in the PerkFit world, a bid, the 800,000 range, and then have those extra funds for, it's not going to get us turf by any mean, but at the very least, it can be used for other enhancement, or it can help us work with Little League if they'd like turf, or work with whoever's going to be utilizing multi-sports field. But that, I can't speak on that without clarifying with Leon or Barbara.
I mean, they could also add pavement and bathrooms, I guess, too.
Yeah.
If there's more money available.
I mean,
But this would solve, one of the issues was bringing water to the site, and so I think someone actually said pump it out of the pond, but we'd have to bring water there to water the turf. I mean, water the grass, and if
We
it's
have,
turf, if it's...
there's running water at Town Barn.
And there's a line for well installation too for the other fields, for the new fields.
But you don't have to water turf.
Yeah, but no, ideally, in an ideal world.
I lost my train of thought. Oh, which field would most likely get the most use, the multi-sport one or the Little League field?
Multi-purpose field more than likely, because it would be used throughout all the seasons.
So for lacrosse, soccer?
Exactly, soccer, lacrosse, football, flag football. So that's where we really need.
So if you had your choice of one turf field, it would be the
It
multi-sport
would be the
one?
multi-purpose. And ideally,
Multi-
most baseball fields, they try to stay away from turf, because the ball skips quite a bit. So,
Baseball fields don't take the type of abuse that soccer and
Yeah,
lacrosse
exactly.
and football inflict on a surface, right?
Do you have a multi-purpose field there now?
At Town Barn?
Yep.
Yes. there is.
Yes, like a soccer field with a softball field in the back, so that's the far field if you go past the baseball field. So that is the one really being used by multiple sports right now.
And you're running into the issue of the concern that Jim and Kathy are bringing up about overuse of that field and wearing.
Do you have any idea as to what you anticipate for revenues, if the fields are going to be used for tournaments and whatnot?
Not at this time, because, I mean, we can refer to Auburn and what they've profited off of, but right now, we need these fields for average day-to-day games, practices, and whatnot. That would be Little League's decision when to implement tournaments and how they would want to style that, or soccer, it'd be up to them. But right now, this location has the opportunity to host small tournaments, but it's not the focal point.
Even
Does-
like a day like today, so I'm coming from Wales because of the flea market. We're utilizing Broomfield Acres for soccer.
Right.
So that's out of commission for the next 2 weekends. So we're actually running all over to try and find the different towns that have some form of field available to use, so.
And there are many towns that do what you're talking about in terms of having tournaments. Auburn does that now?
They do.
Yeah.
What type of surface is on their fields? Are they grass or are they turf?
They have the combination
They
of
have
both.
They have a combination, yeah, so they can.
I know they do stuff out in Holyoke and it's all turf, and they use it every weekend, they're doing something out there.
Yeah.
That over by Pappas there, they have 2 baseball grass fields and a turf soccer and a turf baseball, which is almost like a multi-purpose, so.
And to be clear, you mentioned Little League and how they might want to use it. Little League is an organization separate from the town. They come and they use town facilities to run their programs for residents of the town. The fees that they would get for that tournament would go to that organization, not necessarily the town, unless you set up some type of fee structure or way of sharing some of those revenues that might go to that organization for use of the town field.
Yeah, that would be partnered with, that wouldn't be independently on Little League. But when they're ready and when they feel that that's an appropriate time to go forward with, they would come in and meet with the Recreation Department, set up a fee schedule with the Recreation Committee.
But you also get other towns calling you directly, because I think Little League does do, so I'm also with Little League, we do our own tournaments, but there are also different towns calling in, requesting the use of our fields.
Last summer, it was a minimum of 1 phone call per week from everywhere, from Western Mass to Boston. I even had some people, I don't know if they thought maybe I wasn't being helpful, or maybe I was just not willing to do the work, and they would actually drive out to the fields to see if they could rent it, and I'm sorry, I have 3 different sports teams using that field today from dawn to dusk. I genuinely cannot help you. So with last summer being like my first official summer in the office, it was mind-blowing, the amount of calls. Everyone is desperate for fields. Everyone is, They can rent out an hour, an afternoon, a weekend, whatever they can get, they would take it. So that would be structured separately from Little League's option.
I'm all for finding revenue sources, but my sense is we got to approach this as, we need it to meet the needs of the town itself, and if these other opportunities to get some revenue from third parties using it materialize down the road, to find a way to capitalize on that. But I don't see that being a very large revenue source. Little leagues and other nonprofit organizations, or even a large company that's bringing a whole lot of people out for a meeting in here, wants to use 3 fields for a day or something. It's a couple $100s, thousands of dollars. It's not $10,000 at a whack. So it might offset some miscellaneous expenses to upkeep the field during the year. But
I believe the junior high rental starts at $500 a day.
Yeah.
And then indoor facilities are up to $700.
A lot of the revenue is indirect. It's from local businesses. Like when my girls would use indoor facilities at Tantascwa for a tournament, I mean, they would have a couple hundred girls come for the weekend with their families and get hotel rooms and eat in restaurants. So it's probably the bigger source of revenue, I would think.
Right.
I think we only paid like $500 to use the actual facility.
Right, but though they have costs too, because they have to have a custodian. if
Custodian
it's-
there, yeah. So they're just covering their costs.
Yeah, they
And-
probably just pretty much, even outside, I think if they're using the turf, they said that they
Yeah.
had
They have to.
required somebody from their
You
staff.
can't really put your finger on
Yeah.
lodging and whatnot, though,
Right.
that a tournament brings. I mean, my concern is, or not my
Hard to
concern, my
calculate.
question is more towards how much revenue would the fields themselves bring? And it doesn't sound like there's much interest in doing that at all, and, which is kind of concerning. But also, if you were to open it up to outdoor or out-of-town tournaments, you're not talking big bucks to offset the debt that the town would incur.
No, but I think something we need to focus on is that we have barely any fields for, 2,700 players? So that's our main concern. We need something to focus on residential use first. That needs to be a priority.
So can I just stop you there for a second? So I agree, I appreciate that. As part of the finance committee, we have to kind of think about the residents as well. And there are so many projects that, in fact, I think last year or the year before, the finance committee suggested or recommended that the town prioritize all these. Now, I'm just going to say a couple of quick ones. Ambulance, fire truck, senior center, renovate, purchase, safety complex, big bucks there on itself, on its communication, millions and millions of dollars. These things have to be addressed as well. So
But how is that relevant to
it's
us not
very
having
relevant when
fields
you have a
designed since
budget,
'95?
when you have a town budget, and I think the debt service has to be 10% of the general fund. I mean, that's a concern for the finance committee, right? I would think that it's.
I think it's absolutely a concern,
For the
but I
residents
don't think you can
themselves.
say it's not a need for residents because our police department and our safety complex have other needs. Recreation
Comes
has,
from one pot of money, though.
Those don't generate revenue. We don't get revenue from the senior center or the library or the police department.
I'm not talking revenues.
But we can't look at everything as a cost benefit. Like, we have to, she's talking about the benefits to the townspeople as being the main driver of this, not revenue into some.
I understand that. I mentioned a whole bunch of other things here, though, Mike, that the
I
town
know,
has to
I remember that
consider,
long list that we
so-
made, and I thought,
Yeah, and it's still there.
it's still there, and I think it's kind of a cop-out because, it's like, well, this list, we'll form a committee and we'll study these things until the cow comes home. None of these other people, except for the ambulance and the fire truck, actually have a proposal in front of us. They do. So let's deal with their proposal, and then we can deal with the senior center when they come up with something. Leon said in the town he used to work in, it took 13 years for them to do that, to come up with a new senior center proposal. So I think, you can keep studying things, but they've had this thing come before us for like 3 or 4 times now, and we keep turning it down for different reasons. And usually it comes down to the money, I guess.
Well, I think that's the most important thing.
Right, but let's be, I understand
We are the
people,
finance committee.
Right, but, you know, last time it was like, well, these are not regulation. You know, when we went to the public hearing, there was a guy who said, oh, the baseball field is pointing in the wrong direction, you know. But,
I hear you there.
you know, if it's about the money, and I understand it's a lot of money. But we spend $70,000 a year in recreation. We spend $300,000 on this recycling center, and, you know, we spend 0.7% of our budget in recreation. We spend 10% on public safety, 50% in education. So I don't know that they've been getting a lot of the tax dollars that maybe they should have. I mean, I think the last town barn thing was basically a donation, right? A lot of it was.
Majority of it.
Turner Field was done 60 years ago. So we've done no fields in the time I've been on this committee, except for the ones that are associated with the schools. And it seems like it's something that's come up a lot. It's been turned down for a lot of technical reasons, financial reasons. You know, I think it's time. But I understand people who are against it. You know, it is a lot of money, and taxes are concerned. But they have not gotten a lot for the 2,500 kids who use these fields, those families, they have not gotten a lot of the tax dollars that we've devoted to other, you know, other departments in the town. That's my feeling.
You know, I don't know how to say that there is no need. There sure is a need. It just sticks out all over. And Mike makes a good point that in that list, there are items that could but aren't proposed. So with our policy that limits debt service to no more than 10% of the general fund, does anybody know if this proposal for the town barn fields is accepted as presented? What is the calculation toward that ceiling of 10% of the general fund?
Well, that's easy to, I mean, I think it's about $300,000 a year, not counting the interest. We were spending it more than that on the high school, which has now been paid for, and actually we're actually getting money back from that project.
Yes.
So I
Yes.
would think if we could support the high school and the elementary school and the town hall at the same time, that once the high school dropped off, that we could support that.
You may wonder why the committee is getting persnickety. I'll explain. Just as an individual has a credit rating, the town has a bond rating. Same thing, really.
Mm-hmm.
And Standard & Poor, which is the bond rating agency for Sturbridge, gives Sturbridge a AA+ stable outlook rating. That's really good. And in conferring that rating, they comment on the quality of the management and of the fiscal policies and of the overall economy in the community. Well, I think the committee has an obligation to be sure that we keep doing that. It happens right now to be you all. Pretty soon it's going to be somebody else. A little while ago it was somebody else. And everybody gets the same nasty treatment. We've got to do it. And the reason we've got to do it is at special and annual town meetings, the last stop before the voters decide is this committee. If we mess it up, the information we present is messed up, and the townspeople don't even know they're in the dark.
Mm-hmm.
That's why we're being the way we are. To be responsible, we have to be this way. And so you're not getting, don't feel special. You're not being singled out, even though you are, as individuals, nice and special. So it looks from what Mike says, like this could move right through lock, stock, and barrel, and we'd be within under the ceiling of 10% of the general fund for service, debt service.
I believe so.
And the others are hibernating, I guess, or at least some of the others are
Well, the
hibernating.
ambulance thing is being dealt with, that's a stabilization fund.
Yep.
Yeah, no, we're not borrowing, I
That's
think except for this, we're not borrowing anything
But,
out of
for
this
example, renovating 8 Brookfield Road.
Right, that's,
8 Brookfield Road is asleep, I think.
right.
So,
We bought the fire truck.
yeah.
Yeah, those are being
So,
bought with
so the traffic jam
the funds.
that we wrote about, and there it is, a year ago, it's cleared up. So, when the time comes,
Well, except for the senior center, I think.
yeah,
It might have been
but
mentioned.
still, even with rough numbers there, I think for the policy, we're looking good. I would say, when the time comes, I plan to vote for the proposal.
The other thing to consider, and one thing that really sticks in my head, is the discussion we had on the forecast. I don't know if you were here, you were here, Mike, right?
Yeah, I remember that, yeah.
You know, that was really a smack in the face, that I feel embarrassed as a finance committee person not to have really seen that. So, you know, like to Larry's point, a lot of the residents are not privy to some of the information that we have here, you know, before us during the budget season. But we have a 5-year forecast, and it brings in, you know, property taxes, town revenues, you know, they anticipate this, that, and the other thing, and make everything look nice. I've got to tell you, the next 2 years don't look nice. And that's not including anything that's already in discussion for this budget year. So that's more concerning to me than passing this.
But that's operating within the debt, the debt limits,
Well,
Proposition 2.5.
there's another thing, you know, we didn't even talk about debt exclusion.
Well, this would have to go through that.
It's just, you
Has to be
know,
voted on. So,
and the residents will decide whether or not they want to, you know,
Yeah.
that to be included, but
So,
it's concerning.
no, I agree, but I think they're, you know, the way they budget things, I mean, you know, how do we end up with $4 million in free cash? Because they budget conservatively. So, you know, we should only have 2 million, you know.
Well, yes, we did talk about that, but, you know, we do have that good rating that we have to kind of protect.
Yep, and that's a nice analysis, that 5-year forecast that they put together, but it clearly lacks revenue growth, because Barbara said she can't forecast a number in there unless she's certain that it's there. So that's got 5 years of zero growth in the town. When we had Gene and Nelson in here, they ran through a whole list of projects that are ongoing right now that do add to growth that haven't been reflected in those forecasts. So it's not as dire as it is, but there are lots of pressures coming down from these other projects you talked about. There's also a reliance in there on some state aid that could, you know, be cut back drastically in there.
It
You know,
will
as long
be
as we're-
cut back drastically. It's
Right.
not maybe, it is a definite.
And I wasn't here for the school discussion, but let's just throw it on the table. The school schools are doing a good job of trying to hold their budget to, you know, reasonable growth forecasts, but they eat up a whole lot of that, new growth, funds that come in, much more than we're utilizing on the town side. And, you know, a small increase in a big number is a big impact. So, you know, maybe there's at some point, we might have to have a difficult discussion on how can we manage some of that school growth and maybe not as big a number as they've been coming forward with, and still being able to come up with some programs to provide some relief for some of these potential pressures that are coming down. But I see this article as, you know, you're gonna make it pretty clear to the people that are coming there, this is a debt exclusion, this is a 20-year commitment, and, you know, are people ready to sign up for that or not, so.
Has the CPA voted the 1 million yet?
Yes, in January.
But you're going back to them for more.
Yep, the Board of Selectmen recommended it last night.
Have you decided how much?
We're requesting 500,000 more.
So 1.5 million.
So they approved 1 million and you're asking for another 500?
Correct.
So the total project would still stay at 6.7.
Yeah, the project wouldn't change at all.
But it has a 15% contingency, right?
Correct.
So it,
And it assumes 2 million for ledge, and if you don't have as much ledge, you got some savings in it.
Also, they'll be looking to see, I guess there are companies out there that will remove the ledge, and if they need the inventory, it would reduce the cost.
Yep.
Because they would take the ledge. So hopefully, there's a lot of people out there that need rocks.
Yeah, that could reduce the cost significantly, but we have to prepare for that option not being present at all.
yeah, I think the architect said there are parts of the state where they would do that for free, but not here. But it could be, he ballparked it, I think, at 800,000 to 2
Yeah.
million.
Where they can, or are you, or whoever decides this, considering doing more, I guess they're called test borings to
Test
find out?
holes.
Test holes?
It was suggested last week that it was a possibility. That was the first time that Waterfield has mentioned anything other than they have done all the testing possible for it. So that's something that the rec committee would have to discuss next week at our meeting. But at this time, with the amount of testing that has been done, additional testing doesn't seem to be necessary. And I've been waiting to speak with Craig on why he chose to make that statement last week, because if he viewed it as necessary, or if it could be that much of a financial difference, why wasn't that addressed in the past several months? So all of the testing that is needed has been done. I kind of questioned if he went astray with that sentence or not.
So just a clarification, so they're estimating 1.8 million for the ledge removal, and I assume that means they're gonna take it away and put it somewhere.
Yeah, the blasting is 250,000 estimate. The actual removal is 600. Yes, the blasting figure is 217,000. Evacuation and proper removal might cost 600,000.
Okay, so you're at 8 some. But is that we talked about there's a range that the price could be. So that's not a flat bid. This is so much for blasting and removal. It's going to be somewhere between this number, and if they find less than there was, it's not going to cost the full 1.8.
Correct.
Correct.
I just want to be clear on that, because there's such thing as a firm bid where they say, this is what it's going to cost. And if we dig in the ground and we find nothing, you're still going to pay the full price. That's not the way this bid is structured.
No.
I just want to clarify that.
And
Thank
those
you.
numbers were referenced by Mass DOT.
Okay.
Now, has there been any discussion or concern about the properties that are abutting the blasting area? Because I know last time there were concerns from those residents.
I have not been informed of any concerns.
Yes,
Yeah,
Sturbridge
Sturbridge
Hills.
Sturbridge Hills was pretty vocal about it.
I remember that.
Yeah.
It's nothing I've ever, that's the first time anyone's been notified of that. I don't think worked pretty closely with Leon. I'm not sure.
If it passes at town meeting, you'll hear about it.
Yeah, now I can imagine. But at this time, that has not been addressed.
So that comes up on every underground project I've ever been involved in, and, it's always hard to allay the concerns of the people who are abutting that or near that feel that their foundations and wells and whatever are there, but there are construction methods to go in and do pre and post inspections and help, and do repairs of the contractor, have the contractor responsible for repairs of any cost, so.
A desirable quality of life for a community doesn't fall out of the sky. It costs something, and that's what we're looking at. There's a price for that quality. The quality will be enduring after the price is paid in full, however. That makes it pretty valuable.
Kind of like the trails there, we want the open space, but it costs money for the trails. We have great schools, and we want to attract people in here and provide them the great schools. That means they're bringing kids who are going to need these facilities, and they're expensive.
Right, well, I think.
Nice if you had another option and could have moved it somewhere else and pulled the dollar amount back. It sounds like there's opportunities not to spend the full amount if we have the right people overseeing the construction and the project management side of that. But we can't trim the cost of the project now in anticipation of that. You just have to do the best you can if you get a funded project to do it as inexpensively as you can, so that when you come back for that next field of several $7 million more, there's a belief in credibility that you can get it done.
Yeah, but it really does seem you've done your homework. You've been careful and thorough. What more can you ask for? And the number is what the number is. I mean, you didn't make it up. You derived it.
I think the trails is a good analogy, because the trails have depended a lot on to add value to a lot of sweat equity from volunteers like Tom and his, people that work with him, and also these fields, the existing Town Barn field, a lot of parents have volunteered and helped maintain them, beautify them, and I think there's a lot of investment in that location that's hard to put a dollar figure on. And I think by going to this next phase of the project, we're leveraging that investment and that value, we're adding value there, where you couldn't, if we're up at Plimpton, we've got a little bit less land, but we've got to start from scratch, and maybe that would come, that may have to wait until we do the senior center or something else or something, but I do think, they've been waiting in line for a long time, and I think it's time to finally do something.
Well, for $6.7 million, for 3 fields. So has there been any discussion or reaching out to local companies or businesses who might want to invest and help defray that cost? And I'll give you an example of some beautiful fields in a beautiful complex right off of 395. Just into Connecticut, there are some fields down there. I want to say just past Danielson's, I'm not sure, but I've been to it once. That was beautiful fields, huge. I think there's like 6 or 7 of them. 100%, it wasn't the town. It was all donations from local businesses that put that together. Has that been discussed or looked into? Because that could be significant. You might want to get, I'm just going to throw a business, I don't want to pick on anyone in particular, but like REI or something, I don't know, some business. It could be REI Field or Gillette, another little mini Gillette Stadium if Gillette wanted to donate the money. Do you get what I'm saying?
I get what you're saying.
I mean, that's significant, and that's something that could,
So
it's
those
a
are
lot
some-
of money.
I like your train of thought, but I'm also thinking that's the same businesses that the Little Leagues and all these other sports leagues are hitting up for donations to help fund the day-to-day
It's a little
operation of
bit bigger than
programs.
a Little
They're also
League
the same
donation.
businesses, we're gonna see a tax increase and have no vote at the town meeting, because this would go through, and they're gonna end up paying taxes to support this as well. So it'd be great if we can pull that off and find some alternate sources to help defray some of these costs. But I think constantly going back, especially at a $6.7 million tab to a limited number of businesses we have in Sturbridge is a pretty large ask.
Well, without having the facts behind that, Mike, I don't think you can make that statement.
Okay.
Because it hasn't even been looked at, with all due respect.
But the amount of money you're talking and the amount of businesses that we could go to, I just think that would put a strain on them.
Okay. That's an interesting choice of words, because, you might be straining other people with the increase in property taxes.
But we're talking 100, maybe 118.
Right, but you know what, we were talking $24 on another thing.
From one company, that's a lot of money from a
It might be a
company.
lot of money for one person, though, is what I'm getting at, in town.
I think the town's responsibility for improving the quality of life needs to come into play before. I understand where you're coming from, and larger companies could be really beneficial. I think it'd be a little bit more realistic if we had one of those larger companies in town.
Who said it has to be a town company?
I didn't. I'm saying if we had anything
Anyone.
closer to town. But, as of right now, to go to Auburn to ask them to sponsor a $7 million project in Sturbridge, when the town hasn't done, frankly, anything for these fields, I think, and I would assume that the rec committee would assume that, or would agree, the town needs to have some responsibility in however we can make it work. I don't think we can keep pushing everything off. Right now, all of our leagues are sponsored by outside sources. We give very, very little to these leagues. They do a phenomenal job of keeping themselves running, keeping the fields maintained. But they need support from the town, and it's Sturbridge, it's their decision to improve the quality of life for Sturbridge, by Sturbridge, or not.
And once we get these, if the town will cover the cost, then maybe we can go to other companies looking for the enhancements that we may need for the field that aren't going to be in the millions of dollars.
Well, you know, it would be nice if you went down to take a look at the fields that I'm referring to, and then you'll just say, wow, because I'm sure it was more than $6 million, those fields, 100% by corporations.
Who owns the fields, though?
What's that?
Does the town own the fields?
I'm not sure.
I mean, there was a beautiful sports complex that I drove by every day in Manchester, Connecticut, that was filled every day for like years on end, and then all of a sudden it just completely disappeared, and it's just tumbleweeds and abandoned buildings.
Well, I know the one you're referring to.
Yeah.
No, this is not like that. It's not, that's not what it is. It's
Right.
playing fields, and they're, and,
Well, these were softball fields, and they were quite busy and quite
okay.
well utilized, and,
I'm sure that could happen,
yeah.
but.
I'm
just
curious to
I'm-
know if those are
I'm
town.
just trying to make a point of this due diligence, that there's so much more that could still be done to have a complete, you know, soundproof article to prove to the town that every avenue had been looked at.
But we don't do this for our library or for our police department or for, I mean, we're not looking for putting billboards on.
This arrest brought to you
Safety
by the XYZ Bank.
So, I mean, it seems like we're putting a bigger burden on this department than
Larry's bail bonds, you know,
Vast
we're
for
here,
others.
I don't see where it's related.
Well, because we're asking them to raise money from the private sector. We don't ask the, I mean, for a while, there was a business in town that donated a police cruiser, you know, once a year, and that was nice. It was like $40,000. Probably a lot less back then, but, and then they disappeared, and so we started buying them with our own money, and
But I think, Mary Lou, you had an idea working off of Joni's there of, it's hard to go out and ask businesses to raise the full 7 million in there, but if you're successful in getting it funded, and I think you have a concession stand in there, you know, maybe somebody wants to, a
sponsor
couple of
that.
people want to pool money to put the concession stand in there and get some advertising on that, you know, we're the ones that brought it to you, that reduces the actual expenditure you make in the end. You know, maybe there's a fence company that wants its name plastered all over a fence that they install and people see all the time.
Or
There may be
a
ways to get
scoreboard with
small
their name
pieces
on
of
it.
this, but you gotta get the big thing rolling.
And that's kind of what we've done
I didn't
with
think it was
the
a bad
Little League
idea.
field down there right now. So the town does not pay for any of the upkeep. Little League
Give it a
basically
try.
does everything doing just that. We
Mm-hmm.
get sponsors in who we have the signs all along the fence. We built a concession stand from the funds we bring in. So we're hoping a similar scenario could happen when we turn these over to the fields, where the general upkeep and everything else, it just self-funds itself by the municipal leagues.
Any other questions, discussion?
I think the questions that they're getting here, you know, however they may come across are probably going to be similar to what you're going to get on the town meeting floor, and, you know, there's an argument that says, I don't think people disagree, there aren't enough fields, it's always, but it's going to cost me that much money. How am I willing to step up and pay that? You know, if they were here for free, everyone would love them. You know, you got to convince people that they want to reach into their pocket this year, and good luck.
An old trick of the trade is to reduce an increase as much as you can when you explain it. You're not changing the actual total. And to do it in a way that gets inside everybody's life. $10 a month. That's the Boston Globe on Sunday and a large coffee and a bagel, which, as soon as you've finished with it, you never think of it for the rest of your life. But some 10-year-old is starting their life, and they go and run around, they're on their way. You know, it's not the $10, it's what goes with it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Anyone else? No? All set? Okay, well, thank you all for coming in.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I don't want to run your purse over, I'll let you go first.
Gonna vote this one while we're here, or, know where we're
Are
coming
people
from?
ready to make the motion?
I would make a motion to support the article as crafted by bond counsel.
So the revised article that was sent around,
I don't know that we should vote on this until we have all 9 members here.
I would like to have all 9 members, quite frankly,
Well,
but we can't have Jared.
Jared, and I was unclear on Karen, 'cause she said she's away
When's
till
Jared coming
Thursday,
back?
not till the 20th or something.
Oh,
He's done, I mean, he's not done, but he's in Germany.
yeah. Well,
and today's the 8th, so when do we have to wrap up all of our votes to get this over to?
Probably
Publication.
Thursday. I did finally talk to the printer today, and supposedly he does have more high-speed, faster printers, but who knows?
What is the point of a quorum? It's to do all the business of the entity as if you were full house.
That is true.
Otherwise, there wouldn't be quorums. So, you know, we've approved 3 times this figure last Thursday, and we did not have everybody here. We had 5 people. That's a quorum. And we approved 21 million, something like that.
I don't think any of them were with 6.
think we had-
Thursday to school, was last Thursday to schools?
Yeah, we had
Yeah.
6.
Did you
we
have
had-
as much discussion
we
about
had
that
6
as we
people.
had tonight? didn't
Just
see that.
about, but of
Okay.
a different character, but volume-wise, yeah. But you have to have a quorum. You can do business. We have a quorum. And it's not a public hearing. That's a different world. So we wait till Thursday, except so-and-so can't be here, or somebody gets a flat tire and is marooned. The show has to go on. I second the motion.
Well, thank you, Larry. Further discussion? All in favor? All opposed? Yeah, it's the problem, you have an even number. So it fails.
Well, a tie vote fails.
Right.
All right, that means it can be brought up again by reconsideration of the previous motion
It has
on
to be brought
Thursday.
up by someone who voted against it, right?
For it.
favor.
For it.
For it,
Okay, good, so we
Yeah.
can talk about it
Yeah.
Thursday night.
for it. Otherwise, you're freezing the situation forever,
Yeah.
just simply by doing it over and over.
Yes, yes.
All right.
So with that, I would be prepared to bring a substitute motion with the same wording as the article that was presented to us tonight, if you want to have it heard, assuming we can't break the deadlock between now and when we print the book.
Perhaps there will be more people here on Thursday. I'm not sure if Karen is coming back. She just said she was away until Thursday.
Yeah.
That was the message.
Jared is in Germany,
Yes.
Oh,
actually.
Bruce may be here.
Bruce may be here, though.
Right.
I never heard from him.
Did you say Jared has to recuse himself for some reason?
No. He's in Germany.
Okay.
For the next 2 weeks, so.
Yeah.
Right.
We don't have absentee voting.
Oh, no,
committees.
can't do that.
Can't do that.
Well, no, actually, there's a law that allows that, but Sturbridge did not adopt it, so we don't. No.
And no proxy voting either.
No. I don't,
All right,
Thank you.
thank you. The only other one that we haven't voted, I think, is Article 28, I think, the revolving fund spending limits. I don't have it that we voted that.
We're waiting on the Board of Health
Oh.
situation, yeah, you're right.
Article 28, we have not voted, and since nothing changed last night, as I understand it, for the
Nothing
Board of
changed. You
Health.
talking Board of Health?
Right,
Nothing changed.
so
I watched it.
then,
28 is where they removed the $20,000.
Did you
Yes.
vote, so just, I wasn't here last
Revolving
week,
funds?
15 for the Tourist Association, you voted that one?
voted that.
What about 22, the tax rate relief amount?
We voted 350,000?
Sorry, did you not want to vote revolving funds, or did you want?
No, he's just, because he was in here, he's just checking.
Which articles?
Does anybody know if the selectmen, I guess we'll find out tomorrow, if they substituted Article 25?
Everyone watches them all the time.
That was the wireless devices, did they put in the,
Oh, right. Oh,
whatchamacallit, the reval?
I didn't see that.
Right.
We'll find out tomorrow.
So what,
We'll watch for it.
right, because they were withdrawing it, right, Kathy?
Yes, the school was definitely withdrawing it, it was whether or not they were going to completely renumber or
So we
slip that
withdrew it
reval
in
one
this,
in.
in our article. And because we have the new reval adjustments that we just assumed was going to be
Here.
the next number,
Right,
and we don't, right?
we'll find out tomorrow.
Okay,
So,
Article
28.
20, just catch it, the data, the Public Safety Data Center, Article 24, you voted that?
Yes. And Article 25 was withdrawn by the schools.
Right, that was the wireless.
It was for the wireless devices, the tablets. Evidently, they have a bit of a surplus this year, and so they are going to use it, to use
Deb
those.
said she was going to ask them to withdraw the article.
They did, they
Yeah,
did
they did.
withdraw it. Leon did tell me that they formally had withdrawn it.
Wasn't that the whole purpose of them reopening the article?
No,
There were
that
a
was
couple
just
other minor
something
things,
else.
too.
There was a revaluation thing that was.
Yeah, they had actually missed that reval thing. They had to put that on yet.
Right.
They forgot it.
Okay, so I've caught up to you, I'm at 28.
Good. So this is the revolving fund spending limits. Now, all we have to do each year, because we adopted that bylaw under the Municipal Reorganization Act in February, now all we have to do is, instead of revoting the whole thing every year, we just vote the limits each year.
And save a couple of pages.
Save several pages and trees every year, yes, so. These are in front of you. So is there a motion to recommend Article 28?
That's the one that, I've got an old version, everything's the same except the Board of Health Title V is out.
The second Board of Health, I mean,
Second
there is
Board of
a,
Health.
there is a
Yeah.
regular Board of Health one,
Yes, yep,
yes.
Title V, gotcha, I'm with you.
So you make
That
that
motion then
motion?
if you want.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, discussion? I don't think any of these limits have changed from last year.
No, I don't think so.
No. She usually, Barbara would usually highlight them if they were, have gone up or down. All in favor? 6-0. 0. And I'm wondering if on the special town meeting ones, whether we should just say that we're going to make a
Place.
recommendation at the town meeting.
Those are the ones we don't have a number on them?
Well, you know, I do have a number, but I don't believe it's making it into this warrant, and I keep forgetting to bring that number from my office. On the snow and ice. The other one, there is still no
Article
number.
63? What's the matter with it?
So would your intent be to bring a recommendation town meeting includes a specific dollar amount,
Oh, yeah.
as opposed to the broad number here, and then explain what the dollar amount is? Because I thought there was, even though it's different than what we've typically done, there was a purpose for leaving the amounts broad, just in case one more thing came up, especially, prior year bills or something, that we didn't have to go back and have yet another special town meeting because we voted a specific dollar amount. But we would be in.
Well, we would still be, we have to vote a specific dollar amount at the town meeting. We just can't say,
The free cash transfer, snow and ice deficit, that doesn't preclude us from taking more money if we overspend that.
Correct.
We can keep going, that's the one we can go
That's the
on
one.
forever.
yes, you can.
So, whether we set a limit there, if we set a limit there and we need more.
We do
no
have
big
that.
deal.
Well,
We can do it.
But we still have to vote a number, is what she's saying. We still have to-
I understand that.
I
But the
it was
number can
somewhere
be-
around 144,000.
It could be $2.
It was somewhere around
I
144,000.
want to say it was $100,000, right?
No, she gave me the number, and I
Oh, she did?
wrote it
Well,
down.
last year, I think it was like 100 or
It was-
130.
It was
or
somewhere
something.
around 144. I'll try to remember to bring
So
it.
what is it that you want our motion to say, then?
No, I think that we would just give our recommendation at town meeting.
Once we know.
And
what
we
the
would
number is.
vote before the town meeting. We would have a meeting at 6:30, like we've always done, or often done.
But, I mean, for this here, how is it that we would show it to the people?
Just recommendation will be given at the
The
town meeting.
recommendation of the Finance Committee will provide it at town meeting, or at the special town meeting.
And I think you checked with the moderator, that's going to be okay? Right, okay, good.
Yeah, that's not unusual.
That was the
That's,
rub,
that's
yeah.
happened
Yeah,
many
sure
times in the
was.
past.
Is there,
What you
well, I
need.
can look it up. I was looking for the exact wording of how we've done it in the years.
Well, in
Recommendation.
the past, he's actually said that
No.
because we've had the articles
one,
in front of us, then
Is this last year's?
we don't get first stab at it if we
year.
say that.
Yeah,
But
the
in this
book-
case, since we don't have a number,
You have it.
and we may not have those final numbers
this is
until
2 years.
then.
That's okay. I just want the word.
I will try and dig up that number again, because I keep forgetting to bring it.
I thought we had this discussion, and something came back in one of the emails we got that it wasn't a requirement to put a specific dollar.
Oh, it's
amount.
not.
Okay.
But you do have to vote a specific number at the town meeting. You can't just leave it
we're gonna
on
be doing it,
open-ended.
That's what it looked
That's like giving them a checkbook, blank check.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, no.
We just, okay, I'm trying to figure out what the source of that is, but okay, I would have been okay the way it is, but with
Oh.
informing people there.
Oh, okay. All right,
How about 30 and 31? Assume you voted those as,
So hold on special
Yes.
town, are we not, you don't want me to type in and make the motion for recommendation to be provided at town meeting?
yes,
Yeah.
that's where the group's going.
we voted, yes. I'm looking at my notes here. Article 30, we voted no action, didn't we? Oh, the motion was to take no action.
I don't think we've ever had,
And did motion
have ever
pass?
had a motion to
It was
recommend
611.
recommendation at town meeting, did we?
No action. 6, 1, oh, very interesting. And 31?
Got our ass,
It passed.
moderator.
Article 30 is recreational marijuana, that was 611.
But it was, the motion was to take no action.
Yes, it was, to take no action.
Yes.
Because the article is for prohibition.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
And we did vote on the stretch energy code, though there is a presentation next Tuesday by the planning board, and someone from the state, I believe, is coming to explain it more if you want to hear more about
We
it.
were unanimous in supporting that one.
We were.
We were, 6-0.
So I know that I sent you out Larry's essay. I don't know if anyone else has had a chance. I know it's
like it a lot.
crazy
Thank you.
times. If anyone else, I've been,
Did you guys go over topics last week?
yes.
Did you assign topics? Did you guys assign me one?
No.
Okay. What did you guys have? I'm just curious. I know that when you're absent, you usually get an assigned article or an assigned essay.
No, we didn't. Larry did one, and he's already done, on an innovation
Yeah.
fund.
I saw that, yeah.
Bruce was going to do one.
Yes, a study of what could be built on remaining
Yeah.
land or open space.
Yeah, an analysis of the remaining buildable land under current zoning, assuming that you will never build above 30 or 35 feet, to find out at what point the town just stops building. And
Nothing left.
it could replace buildings, but it wouldn't have new buildings, in the sense of additional. And what are the implications once there's a limit and you've reached it? And I think that's what Bruce was going to look at.
And then Jared.
And then Jared was going to do something, well, I wonder if he's going to get it to us, on the marijuana bylaw, on whether, or basically questioning whether anyone had done some sort of cost-benefit analysis to the town on it. I mean, he was not going to do that, but whether that
going
had
to
been
offer
done
it?
or considered prior to all these votes being taken. And that was all we had, so if anyone wanted anything else.
So, is there a general budget message that's coming?
Yeah, that usually comes from me.
Okay.
And I, And I-
Upbeat for this year, but cautious for the future?
yes, somewhat. I haven't finished it yet. And Barbara did say today that instead of the appendix on the department head salaries, that Leon wants to incorporate that within his own little message, so, and that would probably go more towards the front. But it wouldn't be, I said I didn't want to call it an overview, I would rather just have a town administrator message.
Let's go
Because we
back,
are the overview.
It's not his book.
Yes, I know, but they, I don't,
Who's they, Kathy?
Board of Selectmen, I guess, and the town administrator.
let's go back for a second, if we could, to the essays. If I understood what Jared was going to undertake, that would really fit a discussion of a warrant article in this meeting upcoming. While I think the essays are issues for consideration, which by definition puts it into the future, such as an innovation fund or when are we all built out. So to start asking a question in an issues essay about something that is bound to be voted on makes a nullity out of the essay, which is already outside the definition of issues in the future.
So perhaps he hones it in a little bit more specific, perhaps?
Well, no, the more specific he gets, the more relevant it is to the article that night, not about some, if that essay were written 5 years ago, that would be
We're
relevant.
about to vote on something, and the question is, have we
Well, we
done
didn't
our
have that
home-
law back then, though.
have we done our homework on something we're about to vote on?
Vote on anyway. That's an argument to be made on the floor by way of rhetorical question.
But we just did it, or a couple of years ago, that article we were talking about tonight about the town bond. That was the same year that they had the town bond vote at that annual town meeting, that you wrote your essay about it. you
Yeah.
were saying. So
Yeah.
you're saying,
But that also contained, remember, it's distributed before the meeting, that contained a specific rationale for a no action. That, I don't see how you can fit this
Well, why wouldn't-
marijuana
Why
issue.
wouldn't Jared's be a rationale for no action then, too? Because that's what we're recommending.
Well, he would have to phrase it absent the presentation of a cost-benefit analysis. We recommend no action. And that could properly go in the text
oh,
box.
perhaps then it could be communicated to him then. You know what I mean? Like,
Well,
And every time I start using the word cost-benefit analysis for marijuana, I'm falling off the rails here, because I don't know how you would ever do a cost-benefit analysis for how much marijuana Sturbridge could or should have in town. I think it's, the issue should be, have we fully explored the revenue options and the potential costs and incremental costs from that, because I know Chief Ford, it's legal in Massachusetts, there are probably users in Sturbridge, there are probably users coming through the town. He's gonna have to deal with all the use issues, whether we have facilities of one kind or not within the community. I don't know that having any of these facilities is gonna drastically increase the issues he's gonna have to deal with there, so.
I think he was
cost-
referring to revenues and whatnot, not that.
Right, so if it's, a clear explanation of revenue sources and potential costs, that's one thing versus a cost-benefit analysis.
yeah, you can quantify the cost, but how exactly do you
And-
quantify an experience?
Right. And the benefits, right? How many of these facilities are we gonna have? What's the real revenue? I'll have to see what he comes up with, and then we can see how best to incorporate it.
Somebody should catch up to him and perhaps, make that mention, like, fine, you gotta do this, but can you do it like this? because he's in Germany and he's probably writing away on the plane. I'd be ticked off if you guys completely rearranged mine after working on a plane.
When does this have to all get done, wrapped up? Thursday?
Yeah, pretty much.
You need our essays Thursday? I haven't even really thought about it myself. That's why I was asking what everybody else did. What's yours on? Did you decide? Nothing. You didn't decide. You didn't decide?
No, I was gonna do one on the Board of Health,
Board of
Oh,
Health?
that's right, you were.
yeah.
Board of Health, okay.
I mean,
I'm leaning towards doing something on police and fire.
let me put it this way.
Efficiencies, but-
We'll probably be putting it to bed this weekend, so, but if you want a discussion on it,
So,
I'd say you'd have to have a rough draft at least by Thursday, and then get it to our wordsmith after we discuss it.
right, because it's Mother's Day Sunday. Although
Yes.
I'm around for you, Kathy.
Every day is Mother's Day.
That is not true.
And I have a dog show on Saturday, so
Oh, you do?
I do, down in Connecticut.
Well, I have no children anymore, so. Did you hear that, kids? I'm sure they did not, but anyway, yeah.
Are you having a party at your house?
For Mother's Day?
Yeah. Maybe Kathy and I can join you.
I think we're going to Fins and Tails.
Um,
Oh, that's
So
right.
I-
My other kid's graduating Friday. Forgot about that.
Here's my suggestion, get a rough
About
draft.
the other kid or the event on Friday?
What's that?
You forgot the other kid or the event on Friday?
The event.
If we could have a rough draft so we know where you're heading, and then,
Okay.
and I think that's the best we can do.
So rough draft by Thursday and then,
Or an outline, how about outline? Does anybody outline anything anymore?
and,
Well, as before, if you want me to, I'll be happy to wordsmith and send it to everybody, because everybody has to sign off, because we
Yes.
all sign the whole book.
Could you sign the book? Yes.
so how do you want to do
Not be
this? So
able
we'll
to do
give them
that
to you and then you'll funnel them to Larry
Thursday
and,
night to get all that sign off.
Yeah, I mean, we really have nothing else to do on Thursday.
So does that, well, we can't seem to figure out what we're gonna do 2 days from now. Does that mean we don't need to meet next week or the week prior to,
We usually,
meeting, just prior to town meeting itself?
yeah, unless something else comes up, yes. Next week, if you want, you can go to the Stretch Energy. I don't know
oh, you're not going to be here Thursday. He's not going to
Oh,
be here
yeah.
Thursday.
if, if we need to, I suppose we could meet next Tuesday, but I think we have to get it to the printer by Monday or Tuesday,
Printer by Monday.
so. Because it takes them about a week, and
You
then,
know, if you have a rough idea, you can solicit some comments from people who are able to provide them to you Thursday night, and then just appoint a little subcommittee of a couple of people to put the message together and deliver it consistent with the direction. We should be good.
yeah.
Oh, okay.
All right, any other,
Well, just on that, I just want to make sure, so, I mean, I'll put something together, I'll throw it to you, send it to you. Larry's going to review them all, and then Larry will get them back to everybody for discussion on Thursday? Is that your intent?
yes,
Yeah,
I'll get it to her, she's the boss.
right, and
She'll get it
then
from
you'll get it to everyone for discussion on Thursday?
yes.
That's,
Yeah.
okay,
Yes,
all right.
okay. Any old business? New business? I did have one request, which I actually meant to bring up last week, was that someone was trying to get a hold of us and noted that on the website, no one has contact information on ours, so if anyone would like to put an email, if you want to give it to me, I'll somehow see that it gets onto the website.
Mine's on there.
None of them are, Larry?
None of
They
them,
were
they
all
used to be,
removed.
but
Mine
now,
was for years. Was
but under the new
Bruce's
website,
name
they
isn't
did.
even
And
on
Bruce was removed?
Bruce's name is off.
Because I had them,
Yeah,
It was
yours
on,
used
I
to
don't
be
know where
on,
it
yes.
yeah, I had it added last year.
I mean,
and
I
now
guess
it's
the
gone.
question is, if you want them on, you can tell me now, because I have your emails, unless you want an alternate email.
Yes.
Yes, please put mine back on.
I'll give you an alternate,
Yeah, I think I'm going to use an alternate myself.
because that's my work one, so it's not.
Oh, that's true. Anybody else?
I'll give you an alternate.
When I guess now.
I'll give you an alternate.
Okay. I mean, it's not pressing, and in fact, I emailed the person whose name Leon had sent me, and he never got back to me.
Give him Leon's email.
I don't know. So, I'll, if we get a few on, and I'll make sure that Bruce's name gets on. I don't know how it keeps getting on, off, on, off.
I don't know either. I've
It
asked.
was on.
It was on because
Yes, it was.
Because I actually had Judy, just before Judy left, she updated everyone, and then all of a sudden,
Yeah.
It's gone.
There was a website conversion not too long ago, and maybe some things didn't come across in that as well.
I don't know. Any other,
The other thing you can look at is maybe there's a, finance committee at this town of Sturbridge, general one that people could just click on there, and then, behind the scenes, the town could set that up to forward to each one of us individually, so that we all kind of get it and see it. One comment goes to everyone.
oh, I see,
kind of
yes,
thing.
yes. I don't know if it can be set up that way or not. I'll ask. I was directed to a younger
Let me know.
member of the town staff to do that, so we'll see.
Cumulative, you and everybody else.
okay.
Any other new business?
There's been 3 others.
I don't think we have any public access. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved. Second.
Because I can keep.
All in favor at 8:45?
You mentioned that,
Yeah, so I'm.
It was John and Mike. Thank you.
yeah, totally will.